It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Welcome, everybody, to Inside the Force. This is episode 6, The Wise Old Hermit. All you Star Wars fans should know who we're talking about. I'm your host, David Cottingham, with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm going to try to do my Obi-Wan Kenobi impression as well as I can. Hello, good evening.
Very good. Yeah, that's right. That's good.
Old Obi-Wan, not young Obi-Wan, I guess.
Yes.
It's different.
I'm very excited about this week's episode because we're profiling Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is a huge, huge part of the Star Wars universe. We said when we started this thing we wanted to profile definitely characters that you may or may not know, but you know a lot about Obi-Wan, but maybe not so much some of the stories and histories of him. So we're going to hit on some of those. But before that, we are going to tell you to go to InsideTheForce.com if you want to listen to all of the episodes. In fact, last week, we just put up the new website.
Indeed.
Yes, where you can actually...
Special edition of the website.
Yeah, very good. We tweaked it a little bit.
Added some digital effects.
Added some effects.
Stuff, yeah.
But you can stream and listen to every episode right there on the website. Before, you had to either go to iTunes or the RSS feed, or just click on the link directly there to be taken. Now you can just... There's a player right there on the website.
Yes.
Click, listen, all to your heart's content.
Convenient.
It's all Star Wars,
It's
man.
just, we're here for you guys.
That's
Make
right.
it convenient.
So right now you can go there and get all 6 episodes. To recap real fast, episode 1, we profiled Coruscant. Episode 2, Darth Bane. Episode 3, Yoda. Episode 4
was, I want to say Jabba, but it wasn't.
No.
Crap. What was
Rogue Squadron.
Well, it was Wedge, right?
Wedge.
Okay, I thought it was Wedge. I thought we did something in between.
No, episode 5 last week.
Was Moff Tarkin.
Yep, Grand Moff Tarkin. Now we got Obi-Wan, so... and you'll find out later what we're going to do next week.
I'm crazy. Hang on to your butts.
Twitter, follow us there at Inside the Force. Casey Cooley is at Kryptonian1138.
Yes.
And I am at dcottingham21. We are part of the 21 Network, 21network.com. Check out all the podcasts that are happening right now. You got 5 of them. KooCast every Monday. Inside the Force, us every Tuesday. Popular Fanatics every Wednesday. 21 Podcast on Thursdays. And in the Comics on Fridays. And just a little tidbit.
Whoa.
There might be some other podcasts coming our way.
This is getting out of
already.
Hand. I have to leave. This is getting too much.
I know. But it won't really involve us.
No,
so, we don't have to really worry about it too much. But
out
it
of
might
my
be
area.
part of it. Anyway, we'll get into that more often later. So we're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're getting into some Star Wars news and rumors that's happening right now around Lucasfilm and Episode 7. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about May the 4th.
Oh, yeah.
Which is coming out this weekend. Yes. Which is a big Star Wars day for all you Star Wars fans out there. But we thank you for listening to us, and we're going to get right into the episode. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes. Obi-Wan.
I would say, after, and before we get into his life, but I wanted your opinion, Casey.
Yes.
Looking back now at everything you know of him, because all we knew about him before the prequels was a guy, an old man that trained under Yoda, had a pupil, Darth Vader, and, Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, fought in the Clone Wars. Didn't really, other than that, we didn't know anything about him. Come to find out, he defeats Vader in the big Mustafar lava Jedi battle that we died to see, and we finally saw it in Episode 3. But, in the end, Yoda, Mace, like the 2 most powerful Jedis at the time, were defeated in a sense. He Anakin Skywalker, apparently the strongest, most powerful Jedi or Sith, whatever, he basically defeats Anakin.
Yeah.
Is he not the greatest Jedi
I've heard
to
this.
ever live?
I have been asked this before. My other uncle, not you, believes he is the best Jedi because he feels like he is basically undefeated. I just can't get over the fact that he was defeated twice by Count Dooku. That's where I get hung up on.
Yeah.
I mean,
and as part of this, I'll explain. It actually explains why he got defeated by
Interesting.
Dooku.
Don't know about this, but
yeah.
I mean, he is probably the wisest, as his nickname kind of is.
Well, how did Anakin describe episode 2? I think it was the greatest. It was the best description.
Stronger than
as powerful as Master Windu, and as wise,
as Yoda.
As Master Yoda, which is a powerful combination.
That's great. I mean, he really is. I mean, he is. I would think better than Mace Windu. I don't know if he's better than Yoda. I don't think he is, but I don't think he's the best.
It's hard to argue against it. I mean,
hard.
Because think about it. Mace Windu.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing: is that you don't know if Mace technically defeated Sidious, or did Sidious let him defeat him so that Anakin could see that, right? Mm-hmm. I think it would have come down to just someone getting wearing out the other, because I think if they really went at it, Sidious and Mace, it would have been. I mean, it would have been just right down the middle until someone broke.
Yeah,
but do you think Obi-Wan could possibly stand up to like a Sidious?
No, I mean, Yoda didn't think so at all. I think Yoda would have known.
Right.
He would have sensed it, and he would have known. So, and that's thing, like, Yoda sort of, kind of got defeated, whatever. But I mean, Anakin is just. I feel like Anakin's been the most powerful.
I definitely think so.
He could have been
prior to being Vader.
Right.
I think that time on Mustafar, I think he was the most powerful. And, if you look at it, granted, I guess the way Lucas described it is the only way he got the advantage was because he was the
high ground.
Yeah, I mean...
Dang it. It's like 2 feet high ground. It's like barely even high.
Well, technically, he could have just jumped on the halfway point and then walked up.
Just pull him down to you.
Yeah,
or something.
I don't know.
Why would you jump at that? That's stupid. But, I think the only reason Anakin was lost because of the hubris, just because of his stubborn dark side clouding his mind. But
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think Obi-Wan's the best, but he's definitely one of the best.
He's definitely one of the most powerful.
Absolutely.
So let's get into Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, born 57 BBY. If you don't know what BBY is by now, listen back to our previous podcasts.
Look it up.
We will tell you.
Yeah.
So, which put him at about 25 years old when Episode 1 happens, which is 32 BBY for all you fans out there. But he was born on a homeworld called Stujon, a planet that we don't really know much of. I actually tried to look it up, and it doesn't really even say much about it. But he was taken to Coruscant very soon after he was born.
Yeah.
See, back then, they described in Episode 1. I mean, usually younglings they're discovered very early, like right at birth almost.
Yeah.
That they're sensed to know that they're strong in the Force. So
like 2 or 3 years old, usually I feel like
absolutely
when they can walk and talk.
Yes. So he was taken, very early to Coruscant to begin his training, and it's said that he has memories of having a brother named Owen, which I think you've discovered.
Yeah,
was
like sort
Owen
of,
Lars.
Well, it's like originally, like in the Episode 6 novelization, there was a reference to an Owen that was Obi-Wan Kenobi's brother, but it was revealed that this Owen was also Luke's uncle, and then it was revealed in Episode 2 that was the stepbrother of Anakin.
Yes,
so it's Owen Lars, so it's like
so
there's
no relation then.
Yeah, and then I read also that then since that. There have been all the references to Owen Kenobi, whatever, and Episode 6 book has been taken out. So it's kind of like been wiped away.
Yeah, so they basically disconnected it and said that his brother is Owen.
Yeah.
He has a brother named Owen.
There was a reference to him, I think, in one of the junior novels set before Episode 1. That's it, basically.
Yeah, and it says that he's gone back occasionally and visited him and the rest of the Kenobi family. throughout his life.
I
But
wonder how they all feel about him. It's like, oh, here comes Obi-Wan.
I know.
He's the best.
Here's the Jedi.
The golden child.
the Jedi.
Yeah.
So as a youngling, of course, as all younglings were then, trained by Grandmaster Yoda. He was trained with people that he became close with. One in particular, a Padawan named Siri Tachi, which we'll get into later. He would also become rivals with enemies and even enemies later on, such as Bruk-Chun and Alto. Okay, so what happens is, as a youngling, he does what everybody does. If you've seen episode of the Clone Wars, which really does a good job of illustrating how younglings train and then ultimately go and find their crystals and all that stuff and build their own lightsabers or whatnot. But anyway, he rapidly grew as a Jedi, but it's funny to discover that by the time he reached 12, it seemed that it says that the chances of him becoming a lightsaber, or not a lightsaber, became a Jedi Knight, almost passed him by, because apparently if you're not chosen to be a Padawan by the time you're 13, you get shifted into what's called the Jedi Service Corps. Now, we won't get into really what the Jedi Service Corps is, but it seems like it's almost like a security force or whatnot. But anyway, so this was going to happen, except Qui-Gon one day went to go visit the matches that were going on between the wannabe Padawans, basically. And he was fighting Bruk-Chun, which ends up being one of his enemies down the line. But because he knew that Master Jin was watching, he furiously fought him and just put every ounce of energy into him until he was almost fallen down because of exhaustion. But it had the reverse effect. Qui-Gon actually felt like that he was too dangerous and declined to train him as his master. So Kenobi then was sent to the mining colony. It says the mining colony of Bagdamir to work for the Agri-Corps. I'm not sure what he did there, but it wasn't being a Jedi.
Yeah.
So some time goes by, and the Jedi Knight Qui-Gon eventually had a mission there on this planet, Bagdamir, and one of his former Padawans, Xanatos, who was running this criminal organization there called the Off-World Mining Corporation. Basically, Qui-Gon Jinn goes there. Xanatos had basically this whole plan set up to kill Qui-Gon. He has to team up with Kenobi, and ultimately they survive, even though Xanatos eventually escapes, but they survive. Qui-Gon sees the potential then, and then decides, okay, I will train you. Yeah. You can be my Padawan. So that's how they ultimately get back together. Now, very shortly after that, though, there was this civil war on Melita Dawn. It's Melita/Dawn, this planet. Kenobi there felt for the children there. So he decided to stay and actually left the order briefly.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon was disappointed but left him. So he stayed there to help the children, which was known as the Young, on this planet. And they were fighting, like, the young people, the kids basically were fighting the older elders in a civil war that was going on there. So he helped them there. Met a young woman there named Serasis. So, and I will bring her up later. But in the end, Kenobi, had a change of heart, felt like he needed to be a Jedi, and he was accepted back and taken back by Qui-Gon Jinn, and began serving as a Jedi again, as a Padawan. So then it was Qui-Gon Jinn, Kenobi for many years, doing all these missions, getting sent together on different missions. Ran into Suri Tachi again, ran into Xanatos again, all these different missions. And one good one, eventually he was during the Mandalorian Civil War, which is, if you want to know a lot about the Mandalorians, as far as that goes, Clone Wars.
Yeah.
This is where he first meets Duchess Satine, which again I will talk about it in a little bit. But a lot of that stuff happens. One interesting thing I liked prior to the Battle in Naboo, which is episode 1, Kenobi and Qui-Gon participated in a colonization of Alaris Prime, where they battled the Trade Federation for control of the moon. So during that time, Chewbacca actually had his first encounter with Qui-Gon and Kenobi. Now, a lot of people are maybe thinking, well, what? They met? They did, but they really weren't that acquainted. They just kind of worked together for this conflict. And this happened 40 years before episode 4. So by that time, they probably didn't even know, they didn't recognize each other. Wait a minute. Were you that guy on that
You jerk.
Yeah.
You owe me money.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I buy you a beer? Why am I paying for this?
Yeah, what?
So anyway, Chewbacca and Obi-Wan had crossed paths before, prior to episode 4. So anyway, that leads us all these missions lead us to episode 1, 32 years before BBY. Now, obviously, there's some stories mixed in between the movies and whatnot, but the biggest thing happens during his exile, after episode 3. Take it away, Case. What happens in his exile?
Go. Exile time. Well, after episode 3, he went to Tatooine, and he gave Luke Skywalker to Owen and Beru, and that's the last we saw in the movies, but there's really not a lot of books, at least novels, written about this time. I mean, it's a 19-year period, but we don't get a whole lot. Most of what's written is in the junior novels and short stories, and I think maybe even some comic books, but I could be wrong about that. But a lot of, like I said, a lot of the junior novels talk about this. So, Kenobi goes to Tatooine and to kind of watch after Luke Skywalker. And this is when he first takes the name of Ben Kenobi. And so, I don't know why he chose that name. I don't know why he just did the first name. He should have done the last name as well. But he takes the name as Ben Kenobi, and he kind of just takes upon himself to be the guardian of Luke Skywalker. And there's only a few big things that kind of happen while he's here that is written down, where usually he comes across Jedis that survived the Purge, and he kind of helped them in some missions. Sometimes he even fought some of these guys. Like there's one time when he did this. There's a
one time at band camp.
Yeah, one time at the Dune Sea, Obi-Wan was really bored. No, but he comes across an old apprentice of Tachi, Ferris Olin, and gets in like a kind of a tight spot with him, and they end up being pursued by Boba Fett. So there's every now and then he'll come across a character that everybody knows. And there's one instance where Kenobi came across a Jedi who, once again, another Jedi who survived Order 66. This Jedi was Asherad Het, who was a pretty powerful Jedi Knight during the Clone Wars. But, he was kind of like a loose cannon kind of guy. But he survived. Comes across Obi-Wan Kenobi, and through a series of unfortunate events, they start to fight in battle, because it seems like this Asherad Het guy is getting closer and closer to the dark side. Obi-Wan Kenobi tries to help him come back to the light. They fight, and they come to I guess Obi-Wan defeats him, and Het's this other guy, this Jedi Het, is basically telling Kenobi to kill him because he deserves to die. Obi-Wan Kenobi's like, no, instead you're gonna leave Tatooine, because this guy's from Tatooine. He actually was, I think he was raised by Tusken Raiders, but he's a human. Tells him to leave Tatooine, never to return, and hopefully he'll, in his back of his mind thinking, hopefully he will find his way back to the light side. Well, that was a bad idea, because this guy never did find his way back. Instead, he became a Sith Lord as Darth Krayt, and he was a huge villain later on in the expanding universe. And actually, a lot of people thought that maybe he would be the villain for Episode 7, but he won't be. He could, but who knows. So basically, during this 19-year period, Obi-Wan just finds some old friends and old foes and fights them a little bit. And meanwhile, he's trying to come in contact with Qui-Gon to learn the way of the Wills, which you briefly mentioned in one of the earlier episodes. He's trying to learn how to basically become a Force ghost, in Star Wars layman terms. And he ends up learning it and all that stuff. And there's one cool moment too where he, Owen Lars, some moisture evaporators get stolen by Tusken Raiders, and Owen tries to gather like a band to go get it back. And Luke's already I didn't figure out how old he was, but he's a lot older now. And Obi-Wan takes it upon himself to get the moisture evaporators back, gives it back to Owen, and Owen's really mad about it because the whole thing, Owen Lars is always, even episode 4 we saw, he just has this hatred or just resentment towards Obi-Wan Kenobi. Really, it's just towards Jedi in general. He just thought he doesn't want Luke to get involved at all with Obi-Wan because that would bring back old memories. Go to the Jedi. He hates the Jedi basically just because it's nothing but destruction. There's even one moment where it says here Luke he was off with one of his friends in the Dune Sea, I believe, or the Jedland Wastes. I can't remember, but Jetland Wastes. Anyways, they get trapped by a crate dragon, and there's 3 of these guys, Luke and 2 other friends. And if you don't know what a crate dragon is, I feel like we should do something because that's a pretty nasty creature.
Wasn't that
that's the sound he made in episode 4?
Yes, but isn't it that skeleton? I
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, when they land,
it's literally a dragon.
It's huge. Yeah,
it's literally a big dragon.
Yeah.
And they're native to Tatooine. So, Luke and his 2 friends get trapped by one of these dragons, and the dragon eats one of his friends. And then Obi-Wan comes, and we'll go talk about this later. Obi-Wan comes and kind of subdues the dragon, with the Force.
Yeah,
puts it in an induced sleep, and then rescues Luke. And so Luke has interaction with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, he knows him.
So this is just one of those moments, and I think Obi-Wan tried to give him. At that point, he wanted to give Luke his father's lightsaber, and didn't. Owen Lars once again confronted Obi-Wan to the side and was berating him, you need to leave us alone. We don't need your help. We're a family. We're going to stick together. We don't need you or any Jedi.
Well, he says episode 4, he's like, your uncle wouldn't allow me to give this to you.
So. So there you go.
So it's been brought up, I'm sure.
And so that's basically it. Obi-Wan is just the guardian, basically, for Luke Skywalker the whole time while he's on Tatooine. It's always trying to
19 years.
Yeah, there's some moments where he goes off planet. It goes to the Polis Massa, that asteroid planet, and whatever it is. And because there's some risks about people, because Darth Vader, meanwhile, is hunting Obi-Wan. He's interrogating people. Sometimes he gets misinformation, goes into planets where he's not at. And so Obi-Wan sometimes is trying to cover his tracks. He's going out there talking to people, see if anybody's been talking about him. And then that's basically it. I'm trying to figure out, I'm looking here. There's the most recent information here is really like I just said, the whole Krayt Dragon thing. That was the last big thing that happened with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I can't find a date here that talks about it, but it was pretty soon. I think before episode 9, or I'm sorry, episode 6, 4. Gosh, so many of them. 4. Episode 4. So that's basically his exile. And then from what we know, there was the episode 4, Zero BBY, Battle of Yavin, 5 and 6. Episode 5 and then episode 6 dies. He's a Force ghost, and then he sticks around for a little bit after that, and he kind of just dissipates into the Jedi afterlife.
Right.
And then that's the end of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Life of Obi-Wan. So
yeah.
So 57. So he was 57 basically.
Yep.
By the time episode 4 happens.
Old Benjamin Kenobi.
Old Ben. Now I wanted to kind of touch on a couple things here. His powers and abilities and stuff that he's known for, which I found interesting. He was considered one of the greatest lightsaber duelists of all time. We briefly mentioned this during episode 3, Yoda's, when we talked about Yoda, about how there's different form techniques.
Yes.
Being a Jedi. Mace Windu has one that's it's called Vapid. It's a variant of Form 7.
It's a crazy one. I think we should talk about that. 'Cause we
will. Yeah, we will. Mace Windu is one that we will talk about too. But Yoda was, I think, Form 4, which we had talked about. But anyway, and so what Kenobi used, he wanted to study Form 7, which was Mace Windu's kind of a variant. Mace Windu kind of made a variant, but for Form 7. But Qui-Gon refused to let him study it for some reason. it doesn't really say, is because ultimately, it says ultimately Qui-Gon Jinn's death, because he had one called Atura, which is what Kenobi specializes in, Atura, which I'm not sure what form. I guess it does say. I don't know if that's. If that's I don't know if that's the exact form.
I'm not sure.
We got to get into that kind of stuff because we don't know. But apparently, maybe there's a name for it. But basically, Form 4 had a lack of defense. That's what Kenobi was learning. So he wanted to learn Atura also, which compensated for the defense, the lack of defense in Form 4. So basically, it created a defense as well as Form 4 technique. So that's why he's able to basically withstand, blasters, a lot of blaster bolts, deflections. He can block a lot of stuff. If you watch, the fight with Maul, he can obviously defend. So Form 4 with Atura was his kind of fighting style. And then he would get into his... see, what happens is that this is what you brought up the thing about Count Dooku. So Count Dooku, the reason why he wasn't able to fight him well in Episode 2 was because so he studied 10 years studying Form 3. Kenobi became even more skilled as a swordsman. However, Kenobi's, it's called Soresu. I don't know what that's it's another form of defensive.
Yeah.
What does it say? It says, began studying the defensive Sorensu, intending to create a hybrid between it and Atura. So that's what he was trying to do, is create a form to compensate for Form 4's lack of defense. So Kenobi's... it proved ineffective to Dooku's skill because his strokes of it's called Maskashi. That's what Dooku's, man. I mean, we're getting to so much Jedi stuff, but anyway, which was a lot of strokes and jabs.
Yeah,
Kenobi's style couldn't defend that too well. That's why he was able to
jab his leg and his arm.
Jab his legs and his arms. So what happened was then after that, Kenobi went and studied even more.
Books.
Yeah, he started studying more, deeper into his Sorushu and all this stuff, and so he basically mastered it. So in the end, by the time Episode 3 comes around, he had mastered that style. So that's why in Episode 3, he was never in danger fighting Dooku, and it took basically Dooku catching him off guard, catching him with that force choke,
and pushed him against the thing.
So he didn't defeat him with this, lightsaber skills. Yeah, he basically caught him off guard and then threw him into the. So because leading up to that is what it's saying is that he is able to then now be able to deflect everything Dooku had.
It's crazy.
So that's basically what happens. It's just a matter of time. I mean, even after all those years, he still didn't have it down. The skills of being a Jedi, the fighting skills, which is we need to really, because we're talking a lot about the form stuff. We really need to get in and figure out exactly that's a necessity.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to really understand all that stuff. It's pretty crazy. Because I mean, a lot of people don't maybe not even listen to this could know. I mean, there is just levels of Jedi and Jedi training and Jedi types. Yeah. Skill wise,
I mean, if you play the Knights of the Republic, that's that very country Knights of the Republic games, especially the I want to say this, I don't know, both of them. You learn some about the fighting styles.
Right.
You get to actually choose which fighting style you want to do and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So also just real quick, his force abilities. So he is very skilled in the in obviously mind tricks, which is very portrayed in Episode 4. But he also where was it?
About his force powers?
Yes. Oh, he was very powerful in force push. So much so that that's what gave him, like in episode 3 when he pushed General Grievous. Not many Jedis actually had that enough power to push an entire, which is
it's weird.
It's kind of strange because the levels are different.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the animal thing. He had acute awareness of being able to communicate with animals.
Yeah.
And then the biggest, one of the biggest ones too, is this force deflection. So he had the ability, even without, there's times where it was recorded where he didn't have a lightsaber, he's able to deflect blaster bolts, deflect flamethrowers, which apparently I didn't even know, which were a big, using the force on flame is very hard apparently.
Maybe, yeah.
And so a lot of bounty hunters and Jedi hunters used flamethrowers against Jedis. So he was able, though, to deflect that kind of stuff. So it made him extra powerful. And then deflecting destroyer droid bolts. I mean, he was just very powerful with the force push and the force deflection. And then real quick, I wanted to hit on this last because I wanted to kind of get your opinion on this because this is very interesting. He has 3 noted romantic relationships through his life, which is weird because, as you may know, what's the Jedi code is thou shalt not know.
Thou shalt not know love, or it's like compassionate relationship or something like that.
It's dang it. Look up the.
Is the Jedi code actual?
Well, yeah. Look up. It's the episode 2 poster, teaser poster. It says it. I don't know. It says a Jedi shall not know anger, nor hatred, nor love. I think that's what it is. That might be the code. I'm not 100% sure, but a Jedi shall not know anger, hatred, nor love. I think is the. So anyway, the love, which is weird because Anakin made a good point in episode 2 when he says, we are supposed to be compassionate, though, compassionate towards life. And compassion could be, I guess, looked at as a form of love. Yeah. So they're supposed to be a lover of all life, almost, right? So anyway, but we mentioned the Padawan. Well, first off, we mentioned the Padawan Siri Tashi, which he was a youngling with, getting trained by Yoda. They actually fell in love, kind of then. But when he left the Order for that time, she came to hate Obi-Wan because she felt like, okay, well, he's not for the Jedi. I don't like, he's not, true to the Jedi. He's not part of the Jedi. He's not part of what we want to do. So he's, so she kind of turned his back on him a little bit. But then when he's on this hiatus from the Jedi Order on that planet during that Civil War that we talked about, he meets one of the young, which is her name was Sarasi. Now he falls in love with Sarasi, a very, very deep love, but she was actually mortally wounded and died in his arms, which kind of caused him to go back to the Order. So that was a big push for him getting back to the Order. And once he got into the Order, back in the Order, he had a mission with Suritashi, who's her master was Adigalia, which was in episode. You can see her in episode 1. She's part of the council. So they get into they have a mission together. They run into each other again. They confess their love for each other, or whatever. So this is 2 Jedi, in love. But she gets killed by a bounty hunter. And Kenobi almost kills the bounty hunter in anger, which is interesting because he could have turned to the dark side. But he didn't. He controlled it and realized that he can do that. He can handle loss like that and move on. Now, the last, which if you watch Clone Wars, he gets in a very romantic relationship with Duchess Satine. Now, nothing ever really, I don't think anything ever really comes as far as like revealing that affection, you know what I mean? Like getting together and not, secret marriage or anything like that. but they just were very infatuated with each other. He always found a way to be with her and to be, because basically he was there for like a year protecting her with Qui-Gon. So they developed a very close relationship, and that's kind of hinted at the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And then ultimately she ends up dying as well in the Clone Wars. So, so everybody he kind of falls for, ends up dying. So don't fall in love with.
Yeah.
No. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up. So that kind of finishes our profile of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I wanted to hit on that a little bit because I think that's a huge revelation for what happens to Anakin. Because you got to know that, he's his master. He's with Anakin all that time from episode 1 through episode 3. He's got to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He even says at the end, Anakin's the father, right? Obviously, I'm not an idiot. But
mess around with the.
Do you think that has something to do with the fact that he doesn't?
Yeah.
Tell Anakin like you can't be doing this,
probably in hindsight. Just because I don't think George Lucas had all that backstory in mind of him falling in love a lot, so probably not initially, but it would help explain his sort of turning his eye away from it kind of stuff. Because in episode 2 he has warned Anakin against loving, feeling things for Padme. Like there was a couple moments he kind of said, remember the Jedi Order. Or like,
you'll be expelled.
You'll be expelled, and all that kind of stuff. So, he plays by the rules a lot, but I think so. It's kind of he just maybe has some sympathy toward him. And I looked up the thing you told me you were saying, the Jedi code on that poster. It says Jedi shall not know anger, shall not know hatred, or shall not know love. That's a very interesting take. That he kind of has some sympathy.
But it shows too that he was able, through 3 deaths, he was able to control his anger, control his hatred, and never turn versus Anakin. Yeah. Basically having one love. His mother dying was part of it too, but Padme dying basically turned him over. Not even dying necessarily, just betraying him. Yeah. So. I think it shows a lot of Obi-Wan's will and commitment to the light side, and it's he's pretty badass.
Yeah, he's quite a role model.
Yeah. So that is our profile of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm sure we'll come across a lot more of him whenever we kind of hit on other people, but
hopefully we'll get some movies about him.
Yeah, actually, yes, I do think. Do you think that?
Oh yeah.
I do not think we've heard the last of Obi-Wan Kenobi, by no means.
Not, especially Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
Totally.
That's going to happen.
But here's the thing. Do you think he's going to show up in an episode 7?
Like as a hologram?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. And it'd be cool to see if they could do it convincingly, if they can digitally make him look like Alec Guinness or something and as a Force ghost.
He was pretty close in episode 3. You kind of gray him up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think
some prosthetics or anything, whatever. I don't know what they can do, but that'd be really cool. I definitely think he'll show up in a spinoff before episode 4.
Yes, I do think that too.
So we'll just, I don't know.
I think this exile stuff, that is huge, man. If he goes off planet, that's what you can show, all that kind of stuff. Him making the runs, him trying to steer the Empire a different way as opposed to going to Tatooine, and finding Luke and all that stuff. That's
if you want to do something
story.
like what I mentioned here, he came across that one dude who later became a Sith Lord. You could do something like that where he comes across a guy who, it's a one-off movie where you see him fight this one villain, and then later on maybe we get a trilogy of that same villain set after after 79. I don't know, something. I think you can do whatever. Or if that Darth Maul spinoff rumor is going to be true, we'll see a young Luke Skywalker most likely. We'll see hopefully Joel Edgerton. That's how I say his name. As Owen. That'd be really cool.
That would be really cool. It just popped in my head. How would you feel? Because you talked about digitally enhancing him to be. What would you be okay with them? Because they could probably do it.
Yeah,
create a digital Alec Guinness,
like what they did with Marlon Brando, kind of thing in Superman Returns.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like that is definitely in the realm of possibility.
Absolutely.
I think.
I just want to say here, I think it's Joel Edgerton. I'm sure. I think
yeah.
I'm an idiot and mispronounce it. But yeah, and have Ewan McGregor be the voice, probably.
I'm sure they can probably take
his voice and mess with it
easily. They could take his lines from episode 4 and just kind of, they can do that stuff where they type it in and then boom, they just spit out any word.
If they can do it convincingly, yeah,
I'm all for that.
Absolutely.
I think that's fine. Yeah, even though I think Ewan McGregor would want to come back and do it.
Yeah,
but I think like you said, I think he's going to have his own spin-off movie.
So
God, that's going to be awesome, man. That's going to be awesome. And for those of you that don't know, obviously, Ewan McGregor played Obi-Wan in the prequels. Alec Guinness, the Oscar-winning actor, played him in episode 4.
In one of my classes, we watched a little bit of Lawrence of Arabia.
Yes.
And he's in that. It's so weird because he's like, he sounds like him.
I know.
He has a little bit of like a...
Now, what was the other fact that you found about episode 4?
Which is...
About him not
what?
His death in episode 4. Yeah. How he didn't want to die.
Oh, Alec Guinness. Yeah.
Yes, Alec Guinness.
George Lucas didn't want Obi-Wan. He wanted Obi-Wan Kenobi to die and told Alec Guinness about it. And Alec Guinness initially did not like it.
Right.
And fought George Lucas about it. So Lucas had to convince him. And it said so Alec Guinness would allow it. Allow it to happen almost. Like, it seems like he would have had the power.
I wonder if
stop it.
That's crazy to think that maybe that's the reason why he was like, okay, fine. Look, if you just die, I'll make you a ghost in 5 and 6. Okay,
which is cool because I'm glad Alec Guinness wanted to be a part of it more.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Great. Yeah, for a big actor like that, he was the biggest actor in the movie then, episode 4, because all these other ones were no names. Besides Peter Cushing, you had Peter Cushing and Alec Guinness. They were like the stars.
Yeah,
and you had these kids in there, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill.
I mean,
David Prowse was a bodybuilder. No one knew who he was.
I just want to hear that conversation. Like George Lucas would be like, "You're good. You have to die in this one." Like, no, I'm not. I don't want to die. No, I'm not going to die.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if he signed on before he knew he was going to die.
Oh,
probably
geez.
So. Okay, so moving on to some. Not too much Star Wars news, but we got an interesting rumor that's kicking up here that might happen in a couple of years here. What we got?
Well, and this has been kind of in the works for a while. The CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, I believe is how you say his name. He has been CEO since he was CEO and chairman of General Electric. Then before Disney, but he's been CEO for Disney for quite a while now, and he's basically been the man behind all these awesome mergers we've been getting, and all these basically bringing Disney up to the top again with like all these Pixar films, and responsible for the merger of Lucasfilm. He'll be stepping down as CEO in 2015, right when Episode 7 will be coming around. So they're talking about who's possibly going to be the next CEO. Everybody's saying like it will most likely be this one man who is like a resort theme parks and resort chief, Thomas Staggs, who will probably be the CEO. But there's some rumblings like outside the company saying like Kathleen Kennedy, president of Lucasfilm, she might be in the running as CEO of Disney.
That is crazy.
And people inside the company saying that she isn't being considered because she's too valuable as a producer and brand manager for Star Wars, which is a valuable. I mean, that could be why she wouldn't do it. But I feel like it'll be better for everybody if she did take over as CEO, because she's very, traditional. She wants to preserve Lucas's idea of Star Wars and his vision. So,
but there is that possibility though that because being a CEO of Disney, you have to handle everything.
That's true.
I mean, you have to oversee the Marvel universe that's happening.
Yeah.
There's just a lot more to worry about than just Lucasfilm. So I really think that, in my opinion, I really think that they might offer it to her. I don't know if she'll do it.
Yeah.
Because being president of Lucasfilm is basically the biggest job she's ever had anyway.
Yeah.
She had her own production company, but that was just producing film after film after film. I mean, now she's in charge of every film and everything that's happening with Star Wars. I mean, that in itself is, for one, I don't know if I would give that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I was in charge of Lucasfilm, it's like, I don't need to worry about what Iron Man and those guys are doing. It's like, But so I don't know. I think they're going to want her to do it. Definitely, I definitely think that there might be. But it really depends on. It honestly really depends on these next 2 years as far as like how the movies are being developed and if they're being created and developed the way she wants them to be.
Yeah.
And not so much all her, because obviously the directors and the writers and the other producers, they've got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of their hands are in it too. So depending on how much she's involved, really may determine.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, like if it's better, I mean, I don't want to be selfish. She can do whatever she wants, but if she feels it'd be, better for Star Wars if she was just a president of Lucasfilm, or if she was CEO of Disney, whichever, then she know what to do. And George Lucas will probably guide her in that as well. I mean that's the biggest news right now. There's a couple of little things like Kathleen Kennedy was on a brief video interview talking about the secrecy of Star Wars, because now we're living in an age where it's hard to keep things secret. But even though J.J. Abrams is very good at keeping his movies secret, Kathleen Kennedy says, we're not gonna, she said it's almost impossible to have things not come up on the internet. So she's not going to kind of, hopefully no spoilers be released, but she's not gonna like keep a tight lid on it.
Right.
As probably like we go Super 8 or Cloverfield, which is cool. I mean, that means probably we'll get some photos and some more trailers and
think
stuff like that. So that's really cool. And there's another interview with J.J. Abrams talking about just Episode 7, how it will be different from Star Trek, like visually, like visual aesthetic. He says they have to be different, and he will make it like he said like he's not going into the sayings with the mindset like he has to make it look different. He doesn't come in with an aesthetic pre-established. He's going to allow the aesthetic to come out of the story. Which is the way it should be done. And so, I mean, other than that, there's really not much else going on besides what's happening this Saturday.
Now, I did, and I went out of town last week. I left Tuesday, came back Thursday. Traveling to the West Coast where I was going, I watched Star Trek, Star Trek. Traveling back, I watched Super 8. Because I wanted to get my J.J. Abrams fix. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I mean, they do. I mean, in all honesty, you can tell that they're J.J. Abrams movies.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can feel it. But yeah, the stories are obviously so different. But I don't know. If it feels like either one of those movies, like he's gonna hit it a home run, man. I mean, there's just movies they just draw you in, man, and you're just in that. I mean, and honestly, they're both the best part about them both to me is there's no build up, man. I mean, you're right in it, especially Star Trek. Like the first shot is the freaking Nero's ship coming through, you know what I mean? And attacking.
It's very much how Star Wars is done.
Yes.
There's a battle in the beginning and a battle in the end.
I know. And I feel like if it feels like Star Trek, I mean, even though it won't be, but I mean, I'm just saying like, if it looks anything like that, it's going to be awesome.
Just thinking the more aesthetic is, he'll have, I'll love his, he has the same colors usually, and Super 8, Star Trek, the color palette, and the lens flares, all that stuff he'll keep probably. But like, I feel like almost the way the camera moves will be different, because Star Trek, had a lot of those, the camera shots that went around the ship, inside and out of the, you got the scope of the whole ship and everything like that with this camera work. Super 8 didn't really have a lot of that. So I feel like aesthetically, maybe he'll go differently with that aspect of it, but I mean, I feel like it will be similar looking probably to Star Trek.
Well, and the one thing I did notice huge about Star Trek, obviously, and Star Wars, like I was paying attention to a lot of the backgrounds, and we haven't seen that much in Star Trek, in the first one anyway, the one that he did, they're all either in spaceships or they're in, like class or something. We haven't seen much of other planets and other. Besides Vulcan, which looks very primitive almost, right?
Yeah.
But seeing Star Wars, and that's why I think that's why he was doing the special editions. Like, there's so much going on in the background. Like, there's so much technology, and there's so much. I mean, there's floating droids, there's stuff going. You know what I mean? There's just so much in the background. If you watch the prequels, I mean, there's so much going on in the background. There's so much. It just seems like it seems like Star Trek is a corner of the galaxy of what Star Wars is, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing that he has to deal with, I think, is what's in the background. You know what I mean? Because I don't think you can, especially in episode 7, you really can't scale it down. You know what I mean? It's even though it's after episode 6, but if it's 30 years, things are back to normal almost like episode 1. It's it's a busy, thriving republic again. So I'll be interested to see how he, like you said, how much camera is there, how much vastness is he going to show? You know what I mean? So I don't know, because a lot of people I think were turned off by that with the prequels. They felt like
how much was shown, or
well, how much vast everything was, how much bigger everything was. You know what I mean? Like, because 4, 5, and 6 were very contained.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I was part of the time. He wasn't able to show a lot. That's why he tried to put some of that back in. But we're just so contained in 4, 5, and 6 in certain areas, whereas 1, 2, and 3 he just opened it up.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see what he'll do, what they're going to do with 7, 8, 9. If they're going to contain it a little bit more or both, I don't know. But anyway, we'll speculate that once we start seeing stuff. But the big news that we want to kind of talk about is what is deemed Star Wars Day now. For all you that, most everybody kind of knows this now that are Star Wars fans, but May the 4th has become what's going on as Star Wars Day around fans, basically. It's starting to be recognized with Lucasfilm and with Star Wars and the official stuff, and but it really only has happened in the past. Kind of the 8 or 9 years. It's funny because did you know that it originated actually not Star Wars Day, but May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. It actually originated in 1979 when Margaret Thatcher was elected Britain's first female prime minister on May the 4th, 1979.
Interesting.
And her party, as an advertisement, said, "May the 4th be with you."
It's hilarious.
Margaret, or it said May, the newspaper said, "May the 4th be with you, Maggie. Congratulations."
That's hilarious. Yeah.
So that's where the line kind of originated. Then it says here that in 2005, Star Wars creator George Lucas was asked by a German news TV to say the famous sentence, "May the Force be with you." The interpreter simultaneously interpreted the sentence. He somehow interpreted it as saying, he said, we shall be with you on May 4th. Somehow, I don't know. So, but then in 2011, the first organized celebration of Star Wars Day took place in Ontario, Canada.
Cool.
And then obviously you mentioned that this weekend in Disney, they're going to have official Star Wars Day. So, and also there's an actual Los Angeles City Council declared May 25th. They declared on May 25th, 2007 as Star Wars Day because it was the day that Episode 4 was released in 1977 on May 25th. So technically there's 2 Star Wars days. LA recognizes one on May 25th, but May the 4th has really become Star Wars Day. And it's all, especially with social media now, it is all over.
You can't forget also 4th of July.
Oh, right.
Happy 4th of July. That's later, though.
That is later. Wow, I didn't even, that's good. But Star Wars Day, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people celebrate by watching all the movies, which is cool. I need to do that. Won't be this Saturday because we got a lot going on.
Dang it.
Which it's weird because being in Kentucky, if you didn't know that, we're in Kentucky. We're not really on Coruscant that we say, but we're in Kentucky. May the 4th, if falls on a Saturday, see, to us, that's Derby Day.
Yeah.
The Kentucky Derby runs it the first Saturday of every May. So this weekend, for one, Casey here is graduating college.
Whoa. Big leagues now.
Yeah.
Real
You're
world.
officially part of society.
Oh my gosh, I passed. I want to be a graduate.
A lot of people go to school for 7 years. No, Casey went 4. Casey did it 4.
Yeah.
So he's graduating. It's Derby Day.
Yeah.
It's May the 4th. And it's Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Forgot.
I'm a big comics guy, and Casey is too as well, but it's Free Comic Book Day, which is a huge event in the comic world.
Yeah.
You really get to go to comic shops and get free comics.
Yeah, certain type.
Yeah, I mean, the publishers usually have a free comic that they kind of
so cool
preview stories that are coming and whatnot. But it's a big event. You know, people take their kids, and there's a lot of kids events at certain stores if you go to one. And A+ Comics, which we have a pretty good connection with here, they're at a big day, you know. So I got to somehow do Free Comic Book Day, Casey's graduation. Watch some Star Wars, and then watch the Derby.
Well, do you think they'll have it on Spike? Or the Spike show them anymore?
Yeah. They've got it through, I think, this year.
Okay.
Still the contract
this weekend.
Oh yeah, that would be silly if they didn't.
Silly.
We
We get to play it at my graduation party.
Sorry, I'm sure it'll be on all day. Yes. So at some point we'll watch some Star Wars. Now I'm trying to think of. I was thinking of maybe we would somehow do like a special edition podcast.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Able to.
Yeah, no, you got a lot going on, so might have to just talk about it next week.
Okay.
May the 4th. So, what else we got? We got anything else? I think that's about. I think that's our show.
Yeah, that's
this week.
About it.
So, hope you enjoyed hearing about Obi-Wan Kenobi. We will, I'm sure, cross paths with the great Jedi Master eventually when we run into some other. Oh, yeah, we got to do trivia.
Yeah.
Dang, I almost forgot. I could not believe I forgot about that. Wow. Okay, so episode 6.
On, guys.
We got to do trivia. I totally didn't even think about that. Before we sign off here, we will talk about, do some trivia where we are 3-1-1.
Okay.
After 5 questions. So, man. So, this is question 104.
104. Episode 1?
Early on, yeah. So,
104.
104. Yeah, this is during the Phantom Menace era.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, here we go.
Let's do it.
Everybody doesn't know, we're doing multiple choice questions here from the book Obsessed with Star Wars, 2,500 questions to test your knowledge of the galaxy far, far away. Question 104 is, what act did a foolish young Boss Nass perform? You know who Boss Nass is, right?
Yes, indeed.
What act did a foolish young Boss Nass perform? Is it A, he swam through Naboo's core and broke a record? B, he went in search of and found a Sando Aqua monster? C, he stole Famba eggs? Or D, he tried to tame a cola clawfish?
Foolish. So this is like before them.
It seems like it. So this is a history of Boss Nass. See, if we had profiled him, we probably would know this.
Yeah, this might be in the novelization or something. I don't know.
What act did a foolish young Boss Nass perform? A, swam through Naboo's core and broke a record. D, went in search of and found a Sando Aqua monster. C, he stole Famba eggs. D, he tried to tame a cola claw fish.
I want to go with D.
You're going to go with D.
Yeah. I mean, this is a
This is total guess. I'm going to go with C.
Okay, that was, I was thinking that too. I'll go with D, though.
Okay, so you answered. I'll hit D.
Oh.
Incorrect. And the answer is B.
Oh.
He went in search of and found a Sando Aqua monster.
That sounds crazy.
That is crazy.
That is foolish, Boss Nass. Don't do that.
Okay, so we both missed.
Okay.
So it's 3, 2, and 1.
Okay.
Still tied.
Okay.
Through 6.
Dang it.
I'm glad you reminded me of the trivia. That was pretty foolish of myself. So that's the show. Now that's the show. That's how we end. Follow us on Twitter, Inside the Force, for all the links to our episodes and news. We're retweeting a ton of whatever news comes at you. Look out for us on YouTube. I forgot to mention at the beginning. We will be coming out with videos here soon. YouTube.com/21 Network. That's spelled out. We're going to have some associated videos for the podcast, all the podcasts. Check out all the podcasts at 21network.com. You could subscribe on iTunes, subscribe to our RSS feed, or InsideTheForce.com. Listen to all the episodes right there as they come out. Next week, we are going to be talking about, Casey?
We will be talking about, do I remember this?
The planet.
The planet of...
I can't believe you forgot this already.
I don't know. I can't remember. Hold on.
Where Han Solo.
Oh, Corellia.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
We're going to be profiling Corellia.
Got a lot on my mind.
I know. We got a big weekend coming up. Corellia. We were thinking about maybe doing Alderaan, but people have heard of Alderaan, maybe not heard of Corellia.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit.
And is that where Starkiller is from? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think it was found in Kashyyyk.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're right. He was found at Kashyyyk. Anyway, Corellia, home world to Wedge Antilles.
Yeah,
Han Solo
family.
One of the 3 planets that started the galactic, the Rebel Alliance. So we'll get into that next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This is a very fun podcast to do. I hope everybody's enjoying it. For Kryptonian 1138, Casey Cooley.
You must do what you feel is right, of course. My favorite Obi-Wan line.
That's nice. That's good.
I use it a lot, actually, in real life.
Yeah. It's a lot you can do.
It's a lot.
Learn from Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I am D. Cottingham21, one of your hosts, David Cottingham. This is Inside the Force. May the Force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network, a collection of weekly podcasts. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.